In a future world, there's a legendary fantasy game called Brazil. Within its vast digital realm, Muna and his comrades rose as the unstoppable rulers of the Igon Guild, conquering nearly every rival faction to claim the top spot on their server. But after 12 years of glory, the game's creators dropped a bombshell: the servers would shut down forever. As the news spread, Muna's teammates logged out one by one, leaving only him behind, clinging to the memories of the guild they built together. Muna stayed behind, unwilling to let go of the legacy they forged in the fabled Nazarick tomb. In his grasp was the Igon scepter, the emblematic weapon of their guild, crafted through countless hours and sacrifices. Holding this scepter, Muna stepped outside to meet his loyal servants one last time, the stewards Sabat and the warrior maidens sworn to guard Nazarick. Though they were mere NPCs bound by code, they were his comrades in this final chapter. Leading his retinue to the Grand Hall of the Tomb, a place built from the donations of their strongest NPC, the guild's guardian leader Alberto, Muna checked her status. The creator's note revealed a flaw. Alberto was labeled a glitched NPC. Something didn't feel right. Using the scepter's power, Muna rewrote her programming. After years of solitude, he cheekily altered her status so she would deeply love him. Embarrassing, perhaps, but far better than her previous cold data lines. Settling onto the guild's throne, Muna waited for the clock to strike midnight, the moment the game would vanish forever. Memories flooded back, every friend's name, every laughter shared. Then, as the hour passed, a shock: he hadn't been logged out. The game's control panel and admin contact buttons were dead, yet Muna remained within this ghostly world. Before he could grasp this, Alberto and the servant NPCs suddenly spoke like real people, not just lines of code. Muna's mind raced. Did the NPCs still obey his commands? He ordered Sabat to investigate the surroundings, and the loyal steward accepted without hesitation. The warrior maidens were tasked to guard the tomb's gates against any intruders. Checking Alberto again, Muna discovered her heartbeat just like a living being's. This revelation filled him with both awe and dread, especially since he had just programmed her to adore him. But darkness would wait, there was still much to unravel. Muna sent Alberto to summon all the guardian leaders and remaining residents of the Nazarick tomb. Meanwhile, he tested his own skills and spells within the game. His teleportation ring worked flawlessly. Confident, Muna made his way to the battle arena on the 6th floor of the tomb to meet the twin defenders Aura and Mare, the siblings sworn to protect this sector. Aura greeted their supreme lord with joyous enthusiasm, while Mare was her usual shy, slow-paced self, often teased by her sister. Muna asked the twins to help him test the scepter's true power. Each felt proud to serve the supreme being once again. With a wave of his hand, Muna conjured a blazing fire monstera, dazzling display of his command over this fading world's magic. The twins stood ready, their loyalty unwavering as Muna prepared for what lay ahead. In this twilight of the game's existence, every heartbeat, every flicker of magic, carried the weight of memories, friendship, and the bittersweet farewell to a world that was more than just code. Here, Muna wasn't just a player, he was the last spark of a kingdom on the verge of disappearing. And so, beneath the dimming lights of Nazarick, a story of loyalty, love, and the blurred lines between reality and fantasy unfolded, a journey that would test not just the power in Muna's hands, but the very soul of a world about to fade into legend. Then, commanding the monstrous beast to attack Aura alongside Maggie, the twin siblings wield the formidable power of the Guardians. Together, they stand toe-to-toe with the very creature born from Momongar's craft. After watching closely, Momongar realizes that unlike before when a control panel was essential to cast the game's magic, now, sheer focus of thought alone unlocks the spell effortlessly. However, the function to contact the game's administrators remains offline. Meanwhile, Sabat calls Momoland, reporting his investigation is complete. Without hesitation, Momongar orders Sabat back to the 6th floor to report to the other Guardians. Aura and Maggie, after a fierce battle, finally vanquish the fire monster. Seeing both parched, Momongar pulls out a water flask and pours them a drink, an unexpected kindness that surprises them deeply, as they had long thought Momongar to be cold and terrifying. Just then, the next guardian of the tomb arrives, Santia, a vampire guarding the 1st to 3rd floors. Upon spotting Momoland, she rushes forward to flirt shamelessly with her lord. Witnessing Santia's bold display, Aura burns with jealousy and exposes Santia's use of fake charms to seduce the lord. Santia fires back, mocking Aura's own pretenses, sparking a heated quarrel that only pauses when the 5th floor guardian, Cosius, steps in to mediate. Yet Santia remains defiant, forcing Momongar to assert his authority to bring peace. Then, the final guardian appears, Demiwork, a demonic NPC tasked with guarding the 7th floor of the Nazarick tomb. As all the guardians assemble, they kneel before Momongar in rare and solemn homage, a sight that leaves him both honored and a bit embarrassed. He quickly tells them to stand and announces urgent news received from Sabat. Nazarick has been mysteriously relocated to an unknown place. Without delay, Momonga orders Demiwork to establish communications and set defenses, while the twin elves cast spells to cloak the entire tomb. Once the plan is unified among the Guardians, Momonga tests their loyalty. Each one wholeheartedly reveres him as the supreme ruler of this realm, all-powerful, compassionate sovereign who would never abandon his followers. Only Albert, the one Momonga loves, leaves him speechless. Inside, Momonga breathes a sigh of relief, escaping the earlier tension. Outside, the Guardians remain in awe of Momonga's commanding presence, the sole one among the 41 supreme beings to remain in this world to guide them. But this devotion sparks rivalry. Both Albert and Santia fiercely vie for their lord's affection, each donning a wild mask as they argue over who deserves Momonga more. The other Guardians stand aside, debating who will win this bizarre contest. Eventually, both realize their fight is pointless after all. A great lord like Momonga having only one wife seems far too little. Putting this quarrel aside, Alberta returns with commanding dignity. She orders the Guardians to execute the plans entrusted by their lord. Meanwhile, Momonga prepares to survey the world. As a mage, Momoland was limited unable to wield a sword, but now, having reached level 100, he can switch to a warrior class in seconds, swinging his sword with newfound ease. Knowing their lord's desire to venture out, Maid Nabe readies a team of bodyguards, but Momoland insists on going alone, declaring this a personal mission no one else may follow. Stepping outside, he encounters 3 demon generals under Demiwork's command. They've also heard of Momonga's inspection and prepare their forces to protect him. After much pleading, Momoland allows only Demiwork to accompany him. Standing before the tomb's gates, Momonga marvels at the dazzling night sky of this vast world. Pulling out a magical pendant, he activates teleportation and soars into the heavens. Witnessing this breathtaking realm ignites a fierce resolveto conquer this world and etch the name of the Igon Guild into every corner. Yet, a question lingers. Beyond himself, are there other trapped players here too? Demiwork admires his lord's ambition and vows unwavering loyalty alongside the Guardians of Nazarick. Below, the tomb is cloaked in earth magic woven by McGee. Observing his diligent work, Momonga arrives to praise him and rewards him with a teleportation ring and honor that fills Maggie with joy and a promise to serve Nazarick with all his heart. At that moment, Albert appears to review the work plan. Learning of Maggie's gift from the Lord, she can't help but feel jealous. So Momonga creates another ring for Albert, reminding her that a guardian leader like her deserves such a treasure. Elated, Albert lets out a victorious shout clearly on Cloud 9. Meanwhile, a troop of soldiers plots to attack a nearby village. The next day, the royal army, led by Captain GZ, arrives to investigate the assault. But the village lies in ruins, likely attacked by Baharis's formidable knights. The deputy commander advises retreat to protect their city, but the captain's courage compels him to stay and defend the innocent. In this breathtaking world, Momonga made a resolute decision. He would conquer this realm and etch the name of the great tomb of Nazarick into the annals of history for all to know. Yet, a flicker of doubt crossed his mind. Was he truly alone here, or were other players trapped alongside him? Demiurge, witnessing his lord's ambition to rule the world, was filled with admiration and pledged unwavering loyalty alongside the other Guardians. Beneath them, the tomb was shrouded by Maggie's earth magic. Seeing Maggie's tireless dedication, Momonga approached to offer praise, then crafted a teleportation ring as a reward for his hard work. Wearing this precious gift from his lord, Maggie's heart swelled with happiness and vowed to serve Nazarick with all his might. At that moment, Albedo appeared to inspect the ongoing plans. Learning that Maggie had received a ring from Momonga, jealousy flickered within her. To soothe her spirit, Momonga created a matching ring and gifted it to Albedo, reminding her that a leading guardian like herself deserved such a token. This gesture sent Albedo into a euphoric frenzy, her joyful scream echoing through the tomb. Meanwhile, a band of soldiers plotted an assault on a nearby village. The next day, the royal army, led by Captain Gazef, arrived to investigate the attackers. But the village lay in ruins, utterly devastated. Their foes seemed to be knights of Baharuth, fierce and formidable warriors. Gazef's deputy advised retreat, but the captain's courage burned strong. He vowed to stay and protect his people. Back in Nazarick, Momonga observed the surroundings through his mystical mirror. He spotted a nearby village bustling with horse riders, initially thinking it was a festival, but a deeper look revealed soldiers violently oppressing the villagers. At first, Momonga appeared indifferent, seeing no personal stake in their plight. Yet, when he noticed a wagon nearby, memories surfaced of Topme, the creator of that very wagon. In his early days, Momonga had been bullied by veteran players until Topme appeared as a knight of justice and saved him. That act of kindness stirred something deep within Momonga, prompting him to change course and seek to rescue these villagers. With determination, Momonga ordered the tomb's defenses to be raised during his absence, then sent word to Albedo to arm herself and accompany their lord. As the soldiers prepared to strike the two sisters, a sudden spatial gate opened, and Momonga emerged wielding his staff, a presence so formidable it struck fear into their hearts. With a mere flick, his level 9 magic crushed one soldier's heart, sending him into eternal slumber, while a level 5 thunder spell froze the other in place. Momonga seized the moment to test a new spell on the captured soldier, transforming him as part of his grand experiments. His resolve was unshakable. In his world, failure was a word erased from the dictionary. Alberto appeared after some delay, dismissing these beings as lowly creatures unworthy of the Lord's aid. Yet, Momoga produced a vial of life essence to heal them. Initially terrified by Momoland's appearance, they hesitated. But when Momoga explained it was medicine, Alberto drank it, marveling as her wounds healed before their eyes. Before departing, Momoga cast a protective spell over them, and gave each a whistle blow it in danger, and an army of Go-Brains would come to their rescue. Touched by Momoga's kindness, they asked his name. He introduced himself as Igon, a name meant to echo through the world's most legendary guild. Meanwhile, the monstrous knight rampaged back in the village, terrifying the soldiers. Within minutes, most were defeated, sent packing like salted fish. Just then, Momoland appeared, masked, commanding the creature to retreat. After revealing his name, he spared the remaining soldiers, allowing them to return home with a stern warning. Any further chaos, and he would flatten their lands without mercy. As the soldiers fled, only bewildered villagers remained. To avoid suspicion, Momoland asked for a token of gratitude, not gold, but a scrap of local knowledge. The village chief revealed their home was called Can, and that alongside the Nazadrid tomb, they lay within the kingdom of Resi. This kingdom was at war with the Baharut Empire, whose soldiers often stirred trouble here. Beyond this, the chief knew little else. Hearing this, Momoga planned to journey to the city for deeper investigation. Outside, villagers were burying the dead and restoring the village. As Momoga and Ambedo prepared to leave, they overheard Whisper Knights were headed this way. Momoland told everyone to return home, while he and the chief went to greet the incoming squad. It turned out to be the Royal Guard, led by Garrett. Upon seeing Momoland, Garrett inquired about his identity. Momoland introduced himself as a wandering mage who had come to aid the village under attack. Hearing this, Garrett bowed deeply, thanking Momoga for his heroic intervention. But just as gratitude was exchanged, a new tension loomed: the weight of war, the fragile peace, and the unspoken battles yet to come. The story was far from over, and the path ahead promised trials that would test hearts, wills, and the very essence of justice. If you've ever felt the quiet strength of a protector stepping into darkness, or the heavy cost of peace in a land torn by war, then Momoga's journey resonates deeply. A reminder that sometimes the greatest magic is the courage to stand when all seems lost. Thanks for sharing this journey. May it guide your own battles, seen and unseen. Gaz was warned that enemy forces were closing in to besiege the village. Leading this group of mages was a man named Nigon from the magic kingdom of Slen. He'd cunningly disguised his followers as soldiers of the Empire to launch a surprise attack. This man was tasked with eliminating Gaz, the captain of the Royal Rest Army. Before the assault, Nigon was entrusted with a powerful relic brimming with unimaginable strength. Soon enough, the mages encircled the village. It was then Gaz realized he was their true target. Not wanting the village to suffer, Gaz decided to face them alone. He pleaded with Munga to stay behind and protect the village. Moved by his resolve, Munga agreed. Before Gaz left for battle, Munga gifted him something precious. With a heavy heart, Gareth bid farewell to Momo and charged forward with his soldiers towards the enemy. As a melee fighter, Gareth faced immense challenges against the long-range sorcerers, who unleashed their angelic monsters from Israsin to hinder him. To combat these creatures, Gareth unleashed the devastating technique of Lightblade, vaporizing the first monster in an instant. Following that was a rapid strike of Wind Slash, as he spun to slice through the next wave. However, when the sorcerer appeared, he summoned even more angels using his artifact. After an intense battle, Gareth found himself exhausted, as his entire squad had been taken down. The relentless onslaught of angels left him on the brink of collapse, yet with unwavering courage, Gareth rose to fight with his last ounce of strength. The sorcerer taunted him, threatening to raze the village. Just then, Momo used his magic to switch places with Gareth, bringing him back to the village. Gareth quickly realized that the gift Momo had given him was what enabled this miraculous spell. Meanwhile, on the battlefield, Momo greeted Nigon and his minions, who mistakenly believed Momo had come to plead for the village's mercy. Nigon mocked him, clearly underestimating the situation. Seeing Momo's resolve, Nigon sent his angels to attack. Yet, the assault dealt no damage, as Momo's skeletal form rendered him immune to physical attacks. After dispatching 2 angels effortlessly, Momo recognized them as mere monsters from the Isracin game. With a single strike, he obliterated the remaining angels, instilling fear in the sorcerers, who now pooled their power to eliminate Momo. However, the spells they cast were the weakest in the game, failing to touch the Almighty. In desperation, Nigon summoned a high-ranking angel to entertain Momo, But with just a hellfire spell, Momo reduced it to ashes, leaving Nigon terrified. He revealed his trump card, a crystal containing powerful magic. Believing this attack might tarnish Momo's reputation, Momo commanded Alberto to activate the Tenehun protective skill. Using the crystal, Nigon summoned a supreme angel, confident that this time Momo would tremble before its might. However, Momo's disappointment was palpable when he realized it was merely a child's toy. Alberto, furious at the disrespect shown to her lord, prepared to eliminate the angel. Momo created a black hole, sucking the creature into oblivion, demonstrating his power and instilling profound fear in Nigon and his allies. With the threat neutralized, Momo and Gareth returned to Nazard. Upon their arrival at the tomb, Momo summoned all his subordinates to announce that he would now bear the name of his guild Nigon. This was his way of elevating the guild's reputation across the world, ensuring anyone trapped here would recognize them. Alberto reported that no other players were left trapped, and they had yet to extract further information from the captured Nigon. Determined to learn more about this world, Momo expressed a desire to venture out. After the briefing, Alberto attempted to charm her lord, to which Momo admitted he had previously altered her emotions. Yet, Alberto was only concerned about when she would be able to share a bed with her lord. Just then, Santia entered the room to bid farewell to Momo and Gareth as she set off on a mission with the butler, Zebat. Seeing Alberto there sparked jealousy in Santia, leading to playful banter. Thus, the two girls resumed their love rivalry. With the lord present, neither dared to raise their voices as they left the tomb of Nazard. Momo then made his way to an adventurers' guild in the city, accompanied by Nabe from the warrior maid team. Upon registering the guild, Momo's rank was still merely that of a novice, much to the disdain of the other adventurers present. Unbeknownst to them, they stood before the supreme being of this world. With a mere toss, Momo sent one of the adventurers flying, landing face first. However, in the process, Momo accidentally shattered a mana potion belonging to a nearby girl. Angered, she turned to demand compensation for her expensive item. Not wanting to attract attention, Momo offered her one of his vitality potions instead. Afterward, they secured a room to rest. Nabi expressed her frustration regarding the lowly humans and how they treated them like trash, just as Alberto did. However, since her lord wished to keep his identity hidden, Nabe followed orders and spared them. Momo explained that the purpose of their trip was to gather information about this world, necessitating their rise from novice adventurers to the highest ranks. The ongoing war of hearts filled the air, but with the lord present, no one dared raise their voice or leave Nazar's tomb. Mungar made his way to an adventurers' guild in the city, accompanied by Nabe, a warrior maid from their group. They were there to register as adventurers. Since Momoland's rank was only apprentice, some guild members began bullying the newcomers. What they didn't know was that standing before them was the supreme ruler of this world. With a single throw, Mungar sent them flying through the air, landing hard on the ground. Unfortunately, the throw shattered a nearby girl's mana vial. Furious, she demanded compensation from Mungar. Not wanting to draw attention, he quietly handed over a vial of his own life essence. Afterward, the two rented a room to rest. Nabe confessed her disgust at the lowly humans, whom Albert saw as nothing but trash. Yet, bound by orders to keep his identity hidden, Nabe spared them. Momoland revealed their mission to gather intelligence about this world. To do so, they must climb the adventurer ranks from apprentice to the highest tier. But there was a problem. Their pockets were empty, so they needed to find work. It was hard to believe a mighty lord with a treasure trove in Nazarik's tomb now had to scrounge for coins to survive. Meanwhile, the adventurer girl had her mana vial appraised by an old woman. The verdict? The vial was made from the blood of a divine spirit, a legendary and priceless artifact. This meant danger was sure to follow someone would try to take it by force. The old woman urged her to sell it for safety. At that moment, Mungar arrived at the guild to accept a monster hunting quest. Though still an apprentice, he chose the highest level mission to test the monsters firsthand. But the receptionist denied him, citing insufficient rank, so Mungar had to ask her to pick a quest suitable for his level. Just then, a group of adventurers showed up, inviting Mungar to join their mission. Their leader, Peter, introduced each member. Momoland soon realized this world was filled with gifted mages and warriors, especially one named Baleth, nephew of the old woman who appraised the vial. Bale's talent allowed him to master any magical item with ease. Hearing this, both Nabe and Mungar were eager to meet him and witness his power. Peter then explained their task: to exterminate the monsters surrounding the city. The threat was overwhelming, so they hoped Momoland's team could lend a hand. Mungar agreed without hesitation, eager to set out. But before they left, a young man named Von asked about Mungar and Nabe's relationship. Hearing they were comrades, Von immediately dropped to one knee, proposing to Nabe because of her beauty. Nabe coldly warned Von to know his place, threatening to cut out his tongue if he crossed the line. Yet this icy glare only thrilled Von more. Later, back at the guild, Mungar received a special quest. When he learned Bale was the one assigning it, he had to calm Nabe with a gentle tap so she wouldn't lose her cool. Then the group headed upstairs to hear Bale's request. He wanted to visit Can Village to gather herbs, and asked Mungar to protect him on the journey. Meanwhile, inside the city, a female thief visited a mage, proudly showing him a necklace she had stolen. She claimed the necklace was a powerful relic only usable by those with Bale's talent. The next morning, Momoland's group set off. After half a day's travel, they stopped to rest. Bale revealed this was the territory of the beast known as the Sage King of the Forest, a centuries-old creature, known for its intelligence and magical prowess. Intrigued by the beast's strength, Mungar was eager to meet it. Back at Nazarik's tomb, Demiurge wanted to tidy up Momoland's room while the Lord was away, but found Nabe doing something suspicious. She was clutching a pillow printed with a skeleton calling it her beloved. Demiurge was speechless at this strange yet endearing display. Meanwhile, Mungar and the adventurers pressed onward toward Can Village. Their path was blocked by a horde of monsters. Mungar called on the veteran adventurers for backup, while he and Nabe teamed up to clear the threat. Momoland drew his sword and swiftly felled the first beast. The veterans joked that Mungar had already outgrown his apprentice status, showing off power that sent monsters sprawling with a few strikes. Witnessing his strength, the monsters fled in terror. When it was Nabe's turn, her lightning magic left no creature alive. After the battle, the group tended to their wounds and collected the monsters' ears as proof of their victory. They admired Mungar's leadership and strength, though he humbly said everyone would grow strong one day. That night they shared a meal, though Mungar, being all bones, did not need to eat. One boy in the group wanted to bestow Mungar with the title Black Swordsman to spread his fame, but Mungar declined, saying that title belonged to another youth wielding dual swords. The group then enjoyed a joyful conversation, their camaraderie shining bright a beacon of friendship in a harsh world. As the adventure continued, each step revealed the bonds that bind warriors and mages alike. These moments remind us that even in a world of magic and monsters, it's the heart's courage and the ties between comrades that truly carve the path ahead. And so, as they faced challenges together, their story became more than just a quest. It blossomed into a journey of trust, growth, and the unbreakable spirit of those who dare to stand side by side. If you've ever felt the weight of loneliness or the thrill of newfound friendship, this tale reminds us. Sometimes the strongest magic isn't in spells or swords, but in the bonds we forge. Thanks for walking this path with me. Until next time, may your own story be filled with light and courage. As Balian pondered, memories of his old comrades flooded back. Yet out of the 41, only Momogar remained in this world. Inside the city, the thief girl was tirelessly hunting for Balian, leaving no stone unturned. She didn't hesitate to strike down anyone blocking her path, forcing them to spill secrets before twisting them into puppets bound solely to her will. Meanwhile, the sorcerer wielded dark arts just as sinister, performing a ritual to raise the dead, aiming to turn every soul in the kingdom into mindless zombies. With each ounce of deathly power he gathered, his body would grow stronger, more formidable. Yet these two villains were far from allies. A few sharp words almost ignited a fierce brawl. Dawn broke, and the group pressed onward, undeterred. Swiftly, they reached Can Village, but something had changed. Walls now fortified with barricades, guarded by a vigilant army of goblin soldiers. Weapons gleamed in their hands, led by a brash goblin commander. Only when a blonde-haired girl named Eri appeared did they lower their weapons. Momoland realized these goblins were summoned by a horn left behind by Balian for this very girl. It turned out Balian and Eri shared a close bond. When Balian learned that Eri's parents had perished in the previous attack, he felt an overwhelming urge to protect her. Yet, his shy heart kept his feelings locked away. Eri revealed that once, a powerful mage had saved their village, wiping out the Empire's soldiers and gifting her a red healing potion. Hearing this, Balian's heart raced. He instantly recognized the savior as none other than Momogar, the very companion who had journeyed with him all along. Unable to believe that Momogar was the village's secret guardian angel, Balian rushed to find him, eager to confirm the truth and offer his heartfelt thanks for saving the woman he loved, Eri. At that moment, Bale sought a private word with Momogar, confessing he had come because of the rare red potion Momogar had once traded with the adventurer girl. Bale was curious about how such a treasure was created. Sensing Bale's genuine spirit, Momogar promised to reveal the secret someday. He also entrusted Balian to keep his true identity hidden. Once Bale departed, Thin Name confessed a grave worry perhaps she had already exposed the Lord's identity and was ready to sacrifice herself to atone for her mistake. This unsettled Momogar deeply, forcing him to raise his voice and command her to stop. With that tension eased, the group pressed on with their mission, escorting Balian into the forest to gather herbs. This land belonged to a beast, known as the Gentle King of the Green Woods, a protector of the village. Balian pleaded with Momogar to spare the creature's life, but Momogar, curious to see the beast for himself, ventured in alongside Nabi. As they delved deeper, they unexpectedly crossed paths with Aura, scouting near the tomb. She was tasked to locate the Gentle King and lure it to the Lord Momogar. Riding atop Nazadrid's spectral beasts, Aura soon found the beast's lair. Spotting its tail peeking out, she exhaled sharply, enraging the creature. Meanwhile, the adventurers with Balian, gathering herbs, heard the commotion and knew the Gentle King had appeared. Momogar signaled them to leave the forest immediately while he and Nabi stayed behind, ready for whatever was to come. Facing off against the beast, as it charged toward Momoland, it swung its tail in attack, but he stood firm, blocking with his twin swords. He boldly declared that if Muamunga left the forest, the creature would spare his life. Yet, Momoland demanded it show itself for a proper greeting. From the shadows emerged, a giant hamster. Muamanara couldn't help but feel disappointed. This was the pet his comrades once raised. Despite its size, the hamster carried a haughty attitude and challenged Muamunga to exchange techniques. Even he was speechless, thinking the Forest Sage King would be wise, only to find him as foolish as any other beast. So, Momoland cast a low-level spell, trapping the hamster in a snare, and it collapsed on the spot. Later, as the group set out, the adventurers were awestruck. The Forest Sage King had officially become Momoland's pet. Balia admired Muamunga deeply and wished to join his team, aspiring to learn and grow strong enough to protect Anhui and their village. But Muamunga refused, urging Balia to strive on his own and not rely on others. As the day ended, the mission to guard Bale during his herb gathering concluded. Muamunga returned to the guild to register the hamster, now named Hamske, into his team. Yet, Hamske's comical walk embarrassed Momoland in front of everyone. Meanwhile, the adventurers arrived at Balia's home to help transport herbs and collect the mission reward. But waiting, there was a cunning thief who'd been lying in wait for days, planning to capture Balia. She aimed to exploit his unique talents, using a treasured artifact to summon a skeletal army to ravage the city. Recognizing the danger, the adventurers urged Balia to flee while they confronted the thief. Yet, a sorcerer blocked their path. Meanwhile, Momoland had just registered Hamske and was greeted by Bale's grandmother, who thanked him for escorting her grandson. When Momoland planned to visit her home to collect the reward, they travelled together. But upon arrival, silence filled the house. Something was terribly wrong. Muamunga cautiously opened the door to find the Adventurers Guild Emchol members transformed into zombies, now attacking him relentlessly. Drawing his sword, he fought fiercely, slaying them one by one. He ordered Nabe to protect the elderly woman while he searched for Balia. Among the corpses, Balia was nowhere to be found. Assuming Balia had been kidnapped, Muamunga realized that as the city's strongest adventurer, he'd been hired by the grandmother to rescue her grandson. She promised to pay any price. He and Nabe devised a plan to locate Balia by activating all his magical items, quickly pinpointing his location at a graveyard. Using a mystical mirror spell, Nabe observed Balia in peril. They immediately set out, with Muamunga warning the grandmother to stay cautious. The skeletal army might invade the city. Outside the walls, guards struggled against thousands of bone soldiers, and when overwhelmed, retreated inside. Just then, Muamunga and Nabe appeared, astonishing the guards. With a single throw, Momoland's sword struck down the largest undead behemoth. Then, alongside Nabe, he leapt beyond the city walls to hold back the horde. The guards, amazed, soon heard silence. The skeletal army had been utterly wiped out. Muamunga charged into the graveyard, slicing through bones with effortless strikes each swing a symphony of destruction. Inside, he sought the thief and Balia, while Nabe carried the terrified hamster on her shoulder. After tiring from battle, Momoland summoned a butcher and a jester spirit to aid the fight, swiftly clearing the path to the graveyard's heart. Arriving, Momoland found the sorcerer and his minions performing a dark ritual. Nabe discarded the hamster into a tree, ready to fight alongside her master. Muamunga warned the sorcerer to release Balia or face banishment. Also called out the thief lurking in the shadows. Introducing herself as Kia, she questioned Momoland's true identity, but he replied that since death was certain, names were meaningless. Sensing danger, Sia sought to test Momoland's strength. Calmly, he entrusted the sorcerer to Nabe and invited Sia to spar with him privately. The sorcerer, confident facing only a girl, was soon shocked when Nabe unleashed a high-level spell, wiping out his minions in an instant. Meanwhile, Ka taunted Muamunga relentlessly, but he remained unfazed. Her mention of the slain adventurers ignited his fury. He vowed vengeance to silence her forever. On the other side, Nabe showed no fear confronting the sorcerer, who summoned a skeletal dragon enhanced with magical resistances to counter her spells. Unable to rely solely on magic, Nabe wielded her sword, striking the dragon down. Recognizing her strength, the sorcerer unleashed his full power, channeling dark energy into the dragon while bolstering its defenses. Nabe matched his magic with agility and protective spells, dodging his relentless attacks. Realizing brute force wouldn't suffice, Nabe aimed to eliminate the sorcerer first. Yet her lightning strike was blocked by the dragon. The sorcerer then used accumulated dark energy to summon a second skeletal dragon, planning to crush Nabe and march into the city to harvest more dark power. But for Nabe, even an army of dragons was mere playthings for a mortal like herself. Terrified, the sorcerer demanded to know her identity. Nabe revealed herself without hesitation, her power shining like a beacon in the dark. As the battle raged, the sorcerer's fear grew, realizing he faced not just a foe but a storm of unyielding strength. This confrontation wasn't merely about magician, it was a clash of wills, where the fate of the city hung on every strike and spell. Clemens lunged at Momonga with blinding speed, attempting to strike with a colossal sword, but his armor was too sturdy, her attack couldn't penetrate. As the battle continued, Momonga noted that her fighting style mirrored Gaz's, as she danced around him with lightning speed, causing him a bit of trouble. Realizing his leisure was coming to an end, he turned to Nabe and urged her to showcase the full might of Nazarick, compelling her to unleash her true powers. With the words of her master igniting her spirit, Nabe soared into the night sky, illuminated by the moonlight, transforming into a warrior maiden of Nazarick. The sorcerer commanded his dragons to strike her down, but she effortlessly evaded their attacks, swiftly circling around him before claiming a drop of his blood. Each time he tried to retaliate, she simply shifted back to her previous position, taunting him with the knowledge that he was barely scraping the bottom of the social barrel. Faced with such an overwhelmingly powerful adversary, the sorcerer trembled in fear. His time for play was over. Nabe was ready to end him right there. She relinquished her weapons, preparing for a supreme lightning spell. Despite his disbelief that she could annihilate two dragons with absolute magical resistance, she dismissed him entirely. With a single surge of energy, her spell obliterated the dragons into mere fragments, while the sorcerer met a grim fate, reduced to ashes by the storm she summoned. Meanwhile, Momonga, seeing Nabe had finished her task, decided it was time to wrap things up. He merely stood still, allowing Clemens to attack with her powers. Feeling disrespected, she amplified her strength and charged at him, wielding dual blades and activating a spell meant to incinerate him whole. Clemens believed she had claimed victory, but Momonga suddenly embraced her, revealing his true form as the supreme overlord of this world. Clemens struggled in vain, realizing her predicament as the insignias of her adventurer group fell from her body. Without making her wait any longer, Momonga unleashed a technique named Death Dance, crushing Clemens like squeezing juice from a fruit, leaving her in despair. Once the battlefield was cleared, a rather underwhelming hamster appeared. Though this rodent seemed rather useless, the title Forest King still held a certain charm. Momonga ventured inside to find Bladia and rescue him. Simultaneously, Sebas, the butler, and a maid from Nazarick named Solution were investigating the city. She played the role of a wealthy heiress alongside the esteemed butler, tasked by Momonga to seek out those with powers in this world. Solution cunningly manipulated a slave trader named Jack to gather more information, and once finished, she would eliminate him with her deranged smile. Meanwhile, Jack was unaware that he was about to be sold off as he drove. While inside the carriage, the maids discussed Momonga's plan to identify individuals with martial skills or inherent talents like Bladia and Gaz. Just as they were conversing, Jack's companions knocked on the door, revealing that he and a band of thieves had teamed up to abduct women. Upon spotting Santia emerging, their leader's face lit up with excitement. But as he reached out to touch her, his hand met a swift and terrifying end. Witnessing Santia's power sent chills through the remaining thieves. She called upon two vampire maidens to dispatch the rest of the thieves. Meanwhile, Jack received attention from Solution, who absorbed him into her slimy form. However, Santia found the foes lacking in challenge and grew bored. One of the vampire maids informed her of a formidable foe among the thieves named Brain, who possessed martial skills rivaling that of the royal guard captain, Gaz. Thus, she bid farewell to Sebas and set off with her vampire maids to confront Brain. Meanwhile, Brain had received word that two women were approaching him and stepped outside to engage Santia in battle. Despite facing an immortal vampire, Brain felt no fear. He had practiced extensively, developing numerous techniques to overcome Gaz, his nemesis. With determination, Brain created a fiery circle around himself. As Santia entered, he launched his attack with blinding speed, yet Santia effortlessly caught his sword, choosing to toy with him a little longer. Brain launched a relentless barrage of strikes, but Santia merely used her pinky to block his attempts, showing no signs of struggle. Just as they were bragging to each other, Jack's gang suddenly hammered on the door outside. It turned out that he and the bandits had joined forces to kidnap the girls. When Santia stepped out, the leader's face lit up with joy until his hand reached out to touch her, only to be stopped cold by the fierce power she wielded, sending chills down the spines of everyone around. Without hesitation, Santia summoned 2 female vampires, ready to tear those bandits apart. The other bandits were swiftly dealt with. One was absorbed into Slim's body by Solution's care. But Santia seemed bored, facing nothing but mere chickens disguised as foes. Then, one of the female vampires whispered of a fierce warrior hidden in the bandit's lair brain. A master of martial arts, his strength rivaled that of Gardep, the royal guard captain. Without a second thought, Santia bade farewell to her butler, Zebat, and set off with her 2 vampire maids to confront Brain. Meanwhile, Brain caught wind of 2 women searching for him outside. Stepping out, he faced Santia head-on. Though she was an immortal vampire, Brain felt no fear. Years of training had forged countless techniques aimed at defeating his arch-rival, Captain GZ. With fiery determination, Brain conjured a ring of flames around him. As Santia stepped into the circle, he struck with lightning speed. But Santia caught his sword easily, her calm belying her power. She wasn't interested in ending things quickly, she wanted to savor the fight. Brain unleashed a relentless barrage, but Santia's pinky finger alone was enough to block every attack. Minutes passed. Brain's energy drained, sweat pouring like a storm. Realizing he faced a monster, Brain panicked and fled back inside. The bandits inside were baffled by Brain's sudden retreat. Peering out, they saw Santia transformed into a terrifying beast, her form grotesque and fearsome. Without hesitation, she charged into their lair, wiping out every last bandit with ruthless precision. Yet, when she searched for Brain afterwards, he had vanished. It was then that a group of adventurers arrived nearby, and unable to find Brain, Santia turned her bloodlust on them instead. Among the adventurers was a red-haired girl from the guild hall Santia had visited before. In desperation, the girl threw back a red healing potion, a treasure stolen from the demon Lord Munger. Santia caught her swiftly, and, using mind manipulation magic, interrogated her. Through this, Santia learned her teammates were close by. She unleashed her minions to capture them, but shockingly, they were annihilated almost immediately. This unexpected defeat ignited a blazing fury within Santia. Determined, she headed to see who had dared challenge her children, but it was a grave mistake. Santia fell into an ambush set by those adventurers and was trapped in their deadly snare. The next morning, at the Nazadrid tomb, 2 figures noticed Santia's name had turned blood reader symbol of guild betrayal, but Mwanga refused to believe it. His mind travelled back to the world of Yggdrasil, where a mind control spell existed capable of brainwashing enemy NPCs. He feared Santia had fallen victim to this insidious magic, known as Momola. Alarmed, he warned that the Nazadrid tomb stood on the precipice of disaster, as only a trapped player in this world could wield such a spell. Mwanga and Anbedo debated their next move. Anbedo wanted to mobilize the entire Nazadric's army to capture and torture Santia, but Momoland stood firm. His love for everyone in Nazad held him back from such cruelty. Hearing those words of affection, Anbedo's heart softened, even amidst the looming darkness. Overwhelmed with joy, Momoland unleashed a chaotic barrage. In response, they had to use a divine-level item to pinpoint Santia's location. Just then, Nabe called from the city to inform the Overlord that the Adventurers Guild leader had summoned Momoland to the guild hall. Hearing this, Mumunga immediately accepted, as he was already planning to head there. The guild leader explained that everyone was called to face a vampire threat, warning that if they delayed, the entire town might be drained of blood. The moment Mumura heard this, he recognized the vampire as Santia. Mumunga swiftly requested the guild leader to entrust him with the task. However, a certain adventurer sneered at Mumunga, doubting his strength because he had only completed a few quests yet reached the highest rank. This adventurer insisted on joining Mumunga's mission, eager to witness his power firsthand. Momoland warned him that, insisting on coming along, would lead to his demise. True to the warning, the adventurer ended up tied to a tree root and magically sent off to sell salt. Despite the cautionary advice, he chose his fate. Afterwards, Momoland set off with Albert, but before them stood Santia, her eyes vacant clearly under someone else's control. Mumunga then used a ring called the Star of Hope, an item he had once obtained through a gacha spin, hoping it could cleanse the control binding Santia and restore her true self. But when Mumunga activated the ring, its magic was unexpectedly nullified. Sensing imminent danger, Mumunga and Albert retreated. For the first time, someone had challenged Mumunga's strength, requiring a world-class item to break the curse binding Momoland. Back in Nazarick, Mumunga ordered defenses to be raised to their peak. The Guardians responded promptly, preparing to protect the tomb from any threat. Mumunga then headed to the guild's storage to retrieve his world-class items. Albert immediately recalled the Guardian there, Pandora, an NPC created by Momoland himself to guard the guild's treasure vault. Pandora had the ability to shapeshift into anyone, but unfortunately, he was a bit of a weirdo, causing the Overlord endless embarrassment from his voice to his filthy antics. Even the ladies were left speechless. Initially, Moominga had designed Pandora's uniform, thinking it looked cool and stylish, but now even the Overlord begged Pandora to stop embarrassing him. Apparently one hammy hamster was already enough. The trio then ventured deeper into the guild tomba place Moominga had built to honor his 41 comrades who fought alongside him. It held all the world-class items they had ever wielded. To break Santia's control, Moominga needed an item called the 12 Divine Weapons. After gathering what he needed, Moominga solemnly declared he would one day place a statue of himself in a corner of the tomb. Albert was heartbroken upon hearing this and burst into tears, fearing Moominga might abandon her like other creators had. But Moominga reassured Albert, promising he would win and bring Santia back to Nazarick. Stepping outside the tomb, Moominga entrusted some world-class items to Aura and Maggie, cautioning them to be extremely careful. The enemy was formidable. Momoland tasked the Guardians with protecting the tomb before setting off towards Santia's location. Inside the tomb, Demiurge was deeply worried for Momoland, blaming Ains for allowing the Overlord to fight alone when he had an entire Nazarick army ready to battle. Demiurge wanted to go out and join the Overlord, but Albedo stopped him, citing the Supreme Being's orders that he must face Santia alone. Resigned, Demiurge stayed with the others, watching over Momoland through a magical mirror. Though the Overlord's chances were slim, the Guardians trusted in his promise. Meanwhile, Moominga silently approached Santia, who remained frozen, psychologically controlled. Before confronting Santia, Moominga cast multiple spells on himself, boosting his strength and stats temporarily. His final move was a devastating super magic attack that blew away a vast area solely to awaken Santia. But standing before her Overlord, Santia no longer recognized him. She laughed maniacally, believing she was about to end Moominga. Under control, she was compelled to attack her master. Moominga taunted Santia, daring her to come and attack, declaring that failure was a word absent from his dictionary. No sooner had he spoken than Santia lunged forward, triggering a trap Moominga had set. He then unleashed a magic orb, which Santia blocked with her earthen wall. Seeing this, Moominga used his spinal prison technique, forcing Santia to evade with flight. As a vampire, Santia boasted immense vitality and healing capabilities. Her spear could drain opponents' blood to restore her own life force. On the other hand, Moominga, a mage, wielded colossal magical power. After some tactical maneuvers, the two clashed fiercely in midair. Moominga launched relentless attacks to prevent Santia from healing, but she skillfully dodged and blocked with unknown techniques. Santia then unleashed a skill called Radiant Divine Spear, striking Moominga and breaking several of his ribs. Faced with her overwhelming strength, Moominga had to employ more skills. After a tense exchange, Santia suffered significant damage. Realizing she must strike Moominga's weakness to win, she added holy attributes to her next attack, draining a massive amount of his life force. With those words hanging in the air, Shaltir charged forward, but ran straight into a trap Moominga had carefully laid. He unleashed a magic orb attack, but Shaltir countered with her earth wall. Undeterred, Moominga used his bone prison spell, forcing Shaltir to evade with her flight ability. Being a vampire, Shaltir had her own tricks to counter, but the battle was far from over. Her stamina and recovery ability were nothing short of astonishing. The spear she wielded wasn't just a weapon, it was a lifeline, draining the enemy's blood to replenish her own vitality. On the other side, Momoga, a formidable mage, commanded a monstrous reserve of magical power. After a tense exchange of strategies, the two clashed again. Momoga relentlessly attacked Santia, aiming to keep her from regaining her strength. But Santia was no easy target. She dodged and blocked with techniques Momoga hadn't yet encountered. Then, with a radiant strike called the Divine Spear of Light, she struck Momoga, breaking several of his ribs. Overwhelmed by Santia's overwhelming power, Momoga had to unleash a wider array of skills. After their fierce back and forth, it was Santia who began to bear the brunt of the damage. At that moment, she realized the only way to take down Momoga was to exploit his weakness. So her next attack carried a sacred attribute, draining a massive amount of his vitality. She knew well that the holy element was the ultimate counter to an Andes like him, but the cost was steep. Santia's magical energy was nearly spent, forcing her to switch to close combat. Yet whether at range or in melee, Momoga was ready to push Santia to her limits. It had been ages since he'd experienced a battle this exhilarating. Santia charged forward, driving her spear deep into Momoga's chest to siphon his life force. But Momoga barely dodged, counterattacking with a skill that left Santia scrambling to defend. Exhausted from the grueling fight, Santia finally unleashed her trump card. She summoned a clone of herself to join the fray. The double surged forward, forcing Momoga onto the defensive. To eliminate the clone, Momoga summoned a clock behind him, slowing time itself, making every attack from the clone easy to evade. When the moment was right, Momoga made the clone vanish in an instant. As the battle dragged on, Santia found herself slipping into disadvantage. Momoga sensed this was the perfect moment to end it. He revealed his true plan. All along, he had only pretended to be wounded. His real goal was to bait the mastermind controlling Santia from the shadows. But this puppeteer was clever, still hiding in the darkness, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Now, the tension only thickened. Santia refused to believe it. She lunged at Momonga, her attacks relentless, but they bounced off the golden armor he wore, the sacred gift from Topmi, a past benefactor who brought him into this guild. Then, Momonga unleashed weapons forged by his old comrades. First came a sword sharp enough to pierce Santia's defenses. Grasping it firmly, he struck her arm with precision, followed by an arsenal of other unstoppable relics that tore through her defenses. Santia fought back desperately, channeling blood-sucking magic from her own hands to drain Momoland's life force. Yet no matter how much she drained, it was like trying to empty the ocean with a cup the power levels were galaxies apart. Sensing the game was over, Momonga prepared to end Santia's fight with a devastating spell that would blow away the entire battlefield. But just as he was about to strike, Momonga's keen eyes caught the mastermind slipping away behind Santia's back. Though Santia awakened in time, she vanished in the explosion's aftermath. Returning to the tomb, Momonga and the Guardians began a ritual to resurrect her. Yet doubts lingered, would Santia betray them again? Momonga vowed that if she did, the Guardians had full authority to deal with her. The price of resurrection? A staggering 500 million gold coins from Ishtar. With the spell cast, mountains of gold vanished, and Santia was reborn with a brand new body and her original guild name restored. Albedo breathed easier, certain the controlling magic had been lifted. When Santia awoke, Momonga's joy was palpable. Overwhelmed by the Lord's care, Santia embraced him tightly, sparking a flicker of jealousy in Albedo's heart. Momonga asked if anything unusual remained in her body. She shyly admitted that her breasts had disappeared, leaving everyone speechless. Watching the Guardians joke and laugh together, Momonga felt a warmth in his heart, a reminder of old comrades, a family beyond Nazarick. Though those friends had left, Momonga no longer felt alone. These Guardians would walk with him on his path to conquer the world. This battle had opened his eyes. A powerful enemy lurked beyond, plotting against Nazarick. Their next target might be the butler Sebas, whom Momonga had sent undercover into the city. But once this shadow revealed itself, Momonga promised Hay would force it to log out of this world forever. It turned out the Black Scripture of France was the puppet master manipulating Santia. Though the identity of the mastermind remained unknown, the stage was set for a clash that could shake the very foundations of their world. In this tangled web of power and betrayal, Momonga stands as the lone beacon ready to protect those he calls family, and to illuminate the darkness threatening to consume Nazarick. The journey ahead promises peril, but also the chance to rise stronger than ever before. Who exactly he is remains a mystery, but one thing's clear: his power rivals that of the Chicken Lord from Bulgaria. Alongside Grandma, they've settled in the village of Can, where Nabi takes on the sacred duty of escorting and protecting them. Meanwhile, the steward, Zebat, has arrived in the capital, diving into investigations under the Dark Lord's orders. And Brent, the swordsman, still wrestles with the psychological scars inflicted by Santia and Mu'a's relentless assault. And so, our first chapter of this anime draws to a close. The Dark Lord of Momoland's quest to conquer the world is far from over. What new foes await, and how will our heroes rise to meet them? Stay tuned for the next episodes, and don't forget